everybody. Welcome to the Oak Harbor Marina. My name is Chris Sublett and I'm the harbor master here. I'd like to introduce our fish pens to you. You're welcome to come down anytime and see them and participate in the feeding. What we've done is we've restarted our fish rearing program that started in roughly 1982 and went through 2011. During that time, we raised about 1 million fish and let them go into the bay here. It takes about 3 years for them to return, and we expect about a 10% return as the fish come back. An interesting thing about that is it really supported the Oak Harbor community. It created an outdoor classroom, and it just became a community event. There were times in the early years I was here when this program was thriving that we actually had fishing tournaments, multiple fishing tournaments per year here out of the marina. And it wasn't uncommon to see people catching these salmon along the beach. So it was a fun community recreational thing. We also invited the school district down, Oak Harbor Public Schools, and they would participate in the program as well. They would come down and feed the fish. They would come down and be part of when we receive the fish. And the best part of all, they'd come down and get really excited when we'd let them go and they would just swim away. And the school kids would just really enjoy that and bait them by throwing fish out. This time around, since we've restarted it, and this is our first year in doing it since 2011, we had a three-pronged goal. The first one was to revive the fishing back in the Oak Harbor area. As many of you know, that has been closed for several years due to the lack of fish. The second part of it was to create again that outdoor classroom and involve the kids from the local school district in the program and get them back down here feeding them, welcoming them, and then letting them go. And then the third part of this was to support Governor Inslee's Orca Task Force mandate. And what that involved was creating food for the orcas. And as you know, orcas do frequent this area and are commonly seen out in Saratoga Passage and Penn Cove. In fact, they're even out there right now, so it's super exciting. So what we have in these pens are approximately 15 by 30 feet. We have 2 of them. Inside the pen is a nylon knotless net. And we have 30,000 coho salmon, 15,000 in each pen. And as part of this community project, we were supported by a number of individuals. Tracy and Zach Loescher were a huge part of this and have been working with me and the mayor as well on this program since its beginning a few years ago. It did take us several years to get this started. It kind of felt like we were actors. We heard a lot of no's before we finally heard a yes. So we finally got there and welcomed the fish here. The Fidalgo Island, Puget Sound region of the Anglers Club also played a huge part in this in helping build these and getting the program up and started. Here in a few minutes, I'm going to have Elise Henry explain the feeding process to you, and you'll be able to see what's going on with that. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Elise Henry. I'm Marina Maintenance Attendant down here at the Oak Harbor Marina, and I'm going to talk to you about how we feed our little baby cohos. Our can that holds our fish food. Note the sign, it is not your typical trash can. Please respect our fish. Inside, typically we have our bucket that I already pulled out. We also have our hanging scale. It is set to 0 with a bucket on it. Or normally is, let's see. One good thing about working on the docks, everything is always moving. So, welcome to the reality of the marina. This is a lot easier than it was on a moving fishing boat in Alaska, though. I can tell you that much. Once your scale's ready to roll, you come inside. We've got it double bagged. We also have our fish pen checklist. So it's got Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You would initial if you were the feeder. We also list if we had any deaths, and we are identifying between pen 1 and 2. Again, just because I'm a biologist and I'm curious. You'll see next week we'll go up to 16 pounds for 2 weeks, 17, and then we drop down to 9 for our final 5 weeks. Release week should be around mid-May. I can go ahead and initial for today. And everything looked great. There's space over on this last column in case we have anything to note, like in the beginning they weren't feeding when we were standing on the pen or making noise. However, as you notice today, they could care less. I'm trying to train them. I talk to them every time I walk by. Inside we got our fish food. Came from Department of Fish and Wildlife. And we weigh up accordingly. So we scoop it out. As I mentioned before, this week we're at 7.5 pounds per pin. Just like that. Then you would take your bucket and your scoop and head out to a pin. So as Chris mentioned, we have 15,000 per pin. We've got them labeled pin 1, the one I'm standing on. Pin 2 is to my west. Each time we feed, which is 3 times a week for this particular cycle, we have a weight that we go by. This week, for example, is 15 pounds for the 2 pens combined. We go over to our feeding station, which is behind me, and you'll start broadcast feeding. If we've got a crowd, we tend to feed a little closer so everybody can see. Into my fish babies, I'm talking to them all. I'm walking around the pen. I'm just checking for any abnormalities. Could be a floater, which we have only lost about 20 of our 30,000, and we lost 17 of those upon delivery. Then I'll check to make sure the nets are still stable. Nothing's been trying to get inside of the pens. And I do a slow feed. We were told by the Fish and Wildlife Department biologists that if you feed a little bit at a time, you get your aggressive eaters first, take a break, and then you feed again, you get those passive eaters. Our food is a 3-part food, so we have some at the surface, some mid-level, and some sinks to the bottom. So we can accommodate all of them. Even though it may not look like I've got anybody home right now, once we start feeding, you'll definitely be able to tell a difference.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Montano. I'm part of the Puget Sound Anglers. I'm down here at the Oak Harbor Marina helping with the one of 3 weekly feedings for the coho that we happen to have in these enclosures right now. So we're just going to give them some of the feed that they've got set aside for them and get them all worked up a little bit.
I'd like to thank you for watching this video on our Coho Salmon Rearing Program here in the Oak Harbor Marina, and just invite you down to the marina. Besides the coho, we have numerous things you can do, from watching wildlife to looking at birds to walking the dock and enjoying some of the other sights and beautiful boats we have down here. Please feel free to come down anytime. We're open to the public and look forward to seeing you. Thanks.